evening, everyone. I will call to order the October administrative meeting of the Plan Commission. So Jackie, to get us started, could you call the roll?
Sure. David Bush,
Here.
Margaret Clements, John and Ray Rando, Scott Ferris,
Here.
Rudy Fields,
Here.
David Henry,
Here.
Jeff Morris.
Here.
Julie Thomas.
All right.
So we have 6 members in person in the quorum, and I think Tron's just a few minutes late, so we'll likely have.
So we will jump into administrative business. Is the 2026 meeting calendar.
Sure. So this is a partial calendar. We've got several parts in the latter half of the year that are just to be determined. We're gonna be needing the January dates really soon for public hearings and such to notify people. So we're asking for this initial, I guess, calendar adoption until we get the holidays officially approved from the Commissioner's office, and then the County Council office then usually follows suit with their budget hearing schedules. So we always have conflicts usually with those Nat U Hill rooms. So we're going to be looking, doing as much as we can with the calendar. But we need we're going to start needing these January dates soon.
Are there any questions for staff on the proposed 2026 calendar? Yeah, Commissioner Thomas.
It does look like you accommodated the elections.
We have that as like to be determined.
Yeah,
I wasn't positive how that was gonna,
yeah.
I'm gonna wait for an official approved ordinance. and
Okay, well,
holidays.
that's what's gonna be on there. Once we have the election.
And
Election. Would
I
we-
just-
But that's May, that's
Right.
I mean, so that's,
it's just to be determined.
ways
So
off,
we will
yeah.
be adopting another one once we have more information.
yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. And then hopefully, once the holiday calendar is established, then we can come back,
Yeah.
try this again. And then obviously,
We have to have county council's room.
right, that I was gonna say, we were gonna, enter proceed September. So, yeah.
It was August this year too.
Yeah, right.
I thought August was a safe date, wasn't it?
It was not. Okay. I appreciate that, and I know that you're gonna get this.
Record, Mr. Henrik Randolph has joined us. Thank you. Any other questions for staff? There are none. We have a motion to approve the 2026 calendar as presented.
Motion to approve 2026 calendar as stated. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the calendar as presented in the packet. A vote yes is the vote to approve. John and Ray Randolph,
Yes.
Scott Ferris,
Yes.
Rudy Fields,
Yes.
David Henry,
Yes.
Jeff Morris, Julie Thomas, Dave Bush.
Yes.
Moving on to item 2, this is the update on plat committee membership and commission rules of procedure change.
Yes. So we had Edward Ullman vacated his position, and we do not yet have anyone that's serving as interim. And so we went back to the rules and procedure because we were also notified by one of our citizen members that they actually have a new job, and it's in Indianapolis, and it's really difficult for them to attend at 4 p.m. To get to plat committee. So we potentially have 2 vacancies on the plat committee. So I wanted to come up with the rules of procedure change. So we had done a rules of procedure change to change it for either 3 or a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 plat committee members. Right now we have 5 plat committee members, with 1 being a citizen appointee and then 4 plan commission members. So the options before us were to either go back to 3
or appoint a new plan commission person to take Edward's position and find a new citizen member. In the interim, we do need to hold plat committee, so we're leaning towards the 3 members, just so we don't have to cancel another meeting for lack of a quorum. So if, since the rules of procedure already accommodate this flexibility under A, we wanted to add additional flexibility then under C, which I think we've achieved, but we wanted to get official approval and to have a discussion about it before we officially change it. So C is going to be changed to say, in the case of 5 plat committee members, between 1 and 3 members shall be citizen members that have knowledge and experience in professional land surveying and related issues. So that would take care of saying, if there's 5, you have to have a minimum of 2 plan commission members and a maximum of 4. So to get to 5, you would do that. In the case of 3 plat committee members, up to 1 member may be a citizen member that has knowledge and experience in professional and surveying related issues. We don't have to have a citizen member. In the case of 3, we could just do the 3 plan commission members, but I didn't know if this was something we wanted to leave as a window opening because we retired plan review committee, which was the other board where we had citizen membership. So this is for consideration and discussion.
Mr. Thomas?
It seems that the issue, there are important decisions made at plat. And so I hate to see 3 now. I just feel like more input is better. We talked about changing the day and time because that seems to be the issue. It is not at and that day and time was set, I think when Dave Thompson was here. So, so I think that may be a good way to manage this. I'm still, I just think that 3 members is really small for the decisions that they're making. It's just,
If we stick with 5, I would ask them tonight if we could appoint someone for Edward's position, because right now we just have, I think we have David, Rudy, and Tron.
right.
So
But
we need one.
And it could be 3 with our current rules.
Yes, it could be 3 with 2. We could do 2 citizen members
Right.
with this change. That's correct.
I just wonder if we couldn't just change the day and time to something that works for staff, but also works for the members who are residents and not plan commission members, because that is an odd time to have a meeting.
So the person who said they can no longer do it because they have commitments and entity. If you change the date and time, would they be available to stay on the plat?
We did not discuss that, but I can bring that back up to them.
I mean, it doesn't do a whole lot of it doesn't do a whole lot of good to change things if in fact the person's leaving. They
Right,
cannot take and realign anyway, so.
right. But we could, offer it to have 2 new appointments for citizen appointments. And if they can make the date and time, I know what you mean, though, to change the date and time for appointments you have yet to make.
If it's not an immediate problem, I would be happy to volunteer to take Edward's spot for the remainder of the year. But I'm willing to do that. If somebody else wants to, that's fine too, just volunteer.
Would that get us to a quorum until we figure out who the citizen appointing would be?
It would give us a 4th plan commission member, so then we would have flexibility if 1 plan commission member can't attend, so then we could still have the 3.
Okay.
So it would give us additional
So 3 is a
flexibility.
quorum?
3 is a quorum.
Okay. I think that was Margaret, or it could have been Mr. Henry. Anyways, I'm trying to call from memory, so. That's okay. No,
What
okay.
is the date and time, Brian?
It's the 3rd Thursday of the month at 4 PM. Subject to change because of budget. Holidays. It's in our office, so. At 4 o'clock. And I know some members have actually appreciated it being earlier in the day so that they can be home or deal with other duties at 5:30, but, and then again, other people.
Why did you make it 4 o'clock in the first place?
Been that way since I've worked here.
It's been that way for,
Since like 13.
but I think it was the original membership we were struggling to get.
That's good.
Yeah,
It works nicely for staff too.
yeah. I mean, that is a good thing for staff to be able to do it, but
Yeah, we can, so are you able to make the third Thursday at 4? Would you be
Yeah.
interested? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jeff Morris as a member to the plat committee to replace Mr. Oldman. So
We can reach back out to the citizen member, and if they can't make it, I'll ask for new applications set and review here. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to appoint Jeff Morris for the remainder of this calendar year to be the member of the plat committee. As opposed to, or to fill Edward Ullman's vacancy. A vote yes is a vote to approve Jeff in the plat committee. Scott Ferris,
Yes.
Rudy Fields,
yes.
David Henry,
Yes.
Jeff Morris,
Yes.
Julie Thomas,
yeah.
David Bush,
Yes.
John Enright Randolph.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 7-0.
Okay, and then I assume we're dropping the proposal to modify the rules of procedure.
We can do that. Yeah, we don't need to change these if we keep it to 5.
Let's kind of put this in our back pocket
Okay.
and come back to it if we need it. I just feel like it may be a date and time issue more than a membership number issue, and I just feel like more voices are better because they are making final decisions on important items.
Okay, all right, so we'll go ahead and just table this indefinitely, and then if we have other quorum issues or other things come up, we can always bring this back.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Nerd.
Just, yeah, that's actually a pretty lengthy kind of citizen appointees to what used to be
Plan review committee.
yeah, plan review committee. I was just gonna suggest if they seem interested and kind of have the knowledge that you're looking for that's outlined in their surveying knowledge or et cetera, maybe they would be good people to reach out to as well. If the other citizen member can't make it, even if we do schedule the date and time. Just wanted to put that on your radar. There was a
We
couple
get them to
applicants.
apply and then bring it here, and then, yeah.
Moving on to item number 3, STP 23 the North Park Area B3 subdivision preliminary plat, Plat 3 Amendment 1, preliminary plat extension requested.
Yes, so this is a portion of the North Park PUD that went through a subdivision just about 2 years ago in December. And they still need more time to complete the public improvements associated with being able to do the secondary plat. So typically what we see here is that people want to hurry up and create the plat and give us the money to hold on to promise or guarantee the construction of the required public improvements. This group, the IU Health subdivision, they're actually doing it where they want to do the improvements, get it into the county inventory, and then we can release the subdivision, which in our minds is great, because then that means if they don't do it, they don't get the subdivision, which is ultimately their carrot, and it just makes things easier on our end. So we would support 2 more years and understand that they need that additional time to construct the roadway. So this would be a plat extension until December, I think it's December 11th, 2027. That's my recollection. December 11th, 2027. And this is a item that is going before the, actually, this is administrative business, so you can approve this tonight under administrative business because it's only 2 years, so it does not require further notice or public comment.
Any questions for staff?
Just one question. We don't need like a letter of commitment. I guess the carrot is they just can't proceed with the subdivision.
Yeah, the lots have not been created until they get this roadway in and we approve it and it actually gets into the county inventory.
Okay, if planning thinks this is another alternative to kind of still getting those improvements, I'm kind of supporting, but I guess the letter of commitment, I don't know if that brings any extra assurance.
You're saying a letter of credit?
No, like they're committing to putting in these improvements
They can't sell those two lots.
without doing that.
Right.
Okay, so it all
It's
kind
their
of,
letter. Yeah.
just wanted to offer that thought and kind of get some feedback. So either way, planning feels comfortable as presented.
Mr. Thomas?
I think I might have missed it, and I'm trying to find it again. Did Highway make any comments on this?
No, they don't have any comments on this because they reviewed and approved the first subdivision,
Okay.
so.
I mean, while I understand that it's better for planning to have the roadway in and in the inventory, you can understand that having the roadway in and in the inventory and then construction goes on either side of that roadway, that can lead to costlier repairs for highway. So I just throwing that out there.
For non-residential subdivision,
Yeah.
we can take bonds associated with the driveway entrances.
Okay.
And so we've talked about this before for commercial subdivisions because there is an option under the county development ordinance. It's either the completion requirement, which is complete the improvements, get it accepted in inventory, or there's the bonding requirement. So
I like that. Thank you. I totally forgot about that. And that makes sense because commercial construction is so much more damaging.
so we can look at it before
Okay.
we turn.
Thank you.
Yep, Mr. Pierce?
Thanks. That's a good question.
Oh. So I have a question.
No question for me on this.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
I have a question before we do a motion.
You do have a
I
question.
do have, is this something we can approve at the admin meeting? I think that's what that says. That
I could put a motion out. Should I read everything in this request? I guess I would offer a motion to approve the staff's recommendation of extending the request for 2 years, citing compliance with chapter 830-5. And I'll just state that completion date is December 11th, 2027. Does that suffice?
Yeah.
Second.
Right, there's been a motion and a second to extend the preliminary or the primary plat for SPP 23 which is the North Park Area B3 subdivision plat, Lot 3, Amendment 1. This is a primary plat extension request for 2 years to the end date of December 11th, 2027. A vote yes is a vote to approve the extension. Rudy Fields,
Yes.
David Henry,
Yes.
Jeff Morris,
Yes.
Julie Thomas,
Yes.
David Bush,
Yes.
John Henry Randolph,
Yes.
Scott Ferris.
Yes.
Motion is approved, 7-0.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business, we have 3 items at Holland Fields. Tammy, do we want to take each of these separate?
They each have their own like small update.
Okay.
And it's not like we're taking a vote or anything. It's just, we can just go down each one of them.
Okay.
So with Holland Fields Phase 1, they had, in the packet, you'll see that they've submitted a new estimate and some correction plans and an evaluation of some of the different, just above 96. Okay. So what we're seeing, and then yesterday, we met with the Holland Fields Phase 1 team, their engineer, their attorney, the developer, with the highway department, stormwater, and Jack and I from planning. So we went line by line through their estimate, which is not in the packet. It'll be in there, very cleaned up by the next. Yeah, for Holland Fields Phase. Yep, 3 states, 3 lot in there. 3 lot line. I skipped. Yeah, I think it's. That's, oh, right, that's phase 2. Yeah, all right. So this is the bond that we were going through, and the highway department and developer, we went line by line. We came down to basically planning staff, landscape determination, because they are gonna be changing this area of their detention so that they can maintain the volume that was approved. So we're gonna work on that and hopefully have a determination by next week. And then the highway department, which will likely include Lisa Ridge and Toby Turner, to go out and look at the road itself to see if the entire thing needs to be milled and repaved, or can they do patching, or like, they're just kind of coming to an agreement of like, what would get this road accepted into the inventory? Because right now it's highway department is saying milled and repaved, and so we'll get the experts out there to like make that determination. We are hopeful that by the October 23rd, that we will have a solid estimate. We were also talking with them yesterday about a performance period. They think should these get approved, that they would hopefully get it done by May 14th, 2026, which would basically be just 1 year, just 1 year's worth of inflation. They don't want to have to extend it for a second year. Where we see a small conflict is that the Holland 3-lot minor was extended until June 30th of 2026. That's a 3-week difference. And hard to say how those two developers will work together to complete this very like integrated project. So Jackie and I may do some more brainstorming on how we can deal with that 3-week gap. Okay, so then phase 2, again, we've got as-built from them. That still does need an inspection by the highway department. And they're hoping that when they go out for phase 1, I think next week, they'll also just get to look at phase 2, phase 3, just get a good view of all of those. If this estimate that they've submitted gets approved by highway department and you all accept it, we're gonna go ahead and like, I think, do just what we're requesting here, which is the new subdivision improvement agreement. Wait, sorry. We would need the performance bond document, subdivision improvement agreement, performance period extension. And then the following month, they would be eligible to come here for a reduction. And their reduction would be almost by half. They'd be going from 112,000 to 52,000. We're hopeful that their estimate is accurate and that these things will all be accepted by the highway department. And then phase 3, wait, I think I skipped a lot. The Holland 3-lot minor, we have no updates. We'll be reaching out directly to the developer, I think, for that one. The engineer seems willing and compliant and with the developer at this point. So phase 3, which you guys have not heard yet technically this year, because their letter of credit is not due until December 15th of this year. It's a new one. This is our last one of the year that will bring last one of the year. No, it's not. All right, for that. This one, let's see, the engineers is working on the as-built. It will be done once a section of sidewalk is installed on October 15th. And then they'll submit those to the highway department and likely be eligible for a reduction. One thing that came up during the talks was driveways. We will need to get a legal determination on how to deal with driveways and who should be responsible, how those are accepted into the inventory. Because the permits have not been closed out by the original builders who took them out, who applied for those. But if those builders are not closing out and having those inspected at the time and the property starts to change hands, I mean, ultimately it's, we're not sure if it's the developer because they won't be able to get it accepted into inventory if these driveways don't meet standards. So it's something that we'll be working on with them still yet. And I feel like that is a pretty good summary of what we've covered lately in the last month. We hope to have some good updates in the next couple of weeks. Anyone have any questions?
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Just, this could be for next time. What happens if those driveways don't get accepted in the inventory? Like, just
They'll be maintaining those roads. They'll need to maybe come back for a preliminary plat amendment to make it a private road, and then those homeowners will be.
Have to maintain it.
Shoveling their own snow and maintaining those if they get a pothole.
That's what I was assuming, but thank you.
Yeah, we're trying hard to get them.
Yeah, it's the burden sucks if it falls back onto the property owners.
Thank you, Jamie. Moving on to new business. Is this another Holland Fields phase 3, or is this the one?
No, and on
Phase 3 is new business, yeah. It's a new one, yeah.
Okay, so we will move on to item 2 then, SMN-25-1.
This is a primary plat amendment to create a fourth lot. They are requesting a road width waiver as part of this, and they did submit the requirements under the CDO, which were the average daily trip data. And the highway engineer did take a look at this and provide the comments to say that they would support a road width waiver based on the traffic counts. So it's on North Mount Pleasant Road. It's far out there. And we don't have any significant comments on it at this point from planning staff to think that it wouldn't be able to be approved based on the findings and their citing of their waiver request with the additional data.
Okay, any questions for staff on that one? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, SMN-25-3.
Okay, this one is asking for similarly an amendment to create a third lot. So they already are in a subdivision. They're reopening that subdivision to create a third lot. And they're asking for a sidewalk waiver as well as a street tree waiver. We have some good photos of this subdivision here, but I'll just share with you. So this one's very close to the Cars Farm Greenway. It's just right over here. So they are in the transportation alternatives map as requiring sidewalks. But when you actually look at the topography of Walcott and think about trying to put in a sidewalk, it would not be able to meet ADA for the slope of following the existing road. So essentially we're supporting a sidewalk waiver, but the street trees, when it was originally approved, they were approved to preserve the trees here. So we've asked the surveyor, why not just do an inventory and show preservation, but they've instead insisted on a waiver. So we're not supporting that and cite that they likely have all of the trees that they need to have, but if they show them as preserved, then they can be protected. And if someone ever takes them down, we can require them to put it back. If they get a street tree waiver and it's approved, they could hypothetically remove all trees along this entire frontage.
Questions for staff on that one?
Just a comment.
Sure.
Just with the proximity to a trail, a hard one for me, the one to support, but putting the tree preservation or putting the trees in a preservation, I think could help offset some of where my position is. So I guess just trying to share where my thoughts are.
Questions or comments? Okay, moving on to item 4, SSS-25-2.
This is a new sliding scale subdivision. They are similarly requesting a sidewalk waiver. With the CDO's passage, we changed the sidewalk requirements to include if something is part of the alternative transportation plan. And this is part of a road improvement priority list. So I think it's moderate road improvement is what it is. Maple Grove, I think stated in the petitioner letter, is often a road that's utilized by many cyclists in the community. And so this, if there were a sidewalk to be placed here, the transportation alternatives plan actually calls for more of a bike lane improvement. So they are going to be dedicating right of way. I think something that we want to work out with highway and started the conversation on, which I'll get to next amendment, is how do we deal with properties that are road improvements requiring sidewalk? Can we ask for more of an alternative transportation idea, such as like a sort of an interim taper bike lane until we could possibly put in a larger bike lane or something like that. So as the code is written today, we are supporting the street or the sidewalk waiver. But they are meeting the street tree requirement, which is a preservation area on the parent parcel, which is lot 2. So this is the plat shown here. Wise, I think this is something that we are recommending approval for both the primary plat and the sidewalk waiver.
Any questions on that? Next item is REZ 25
Okay, so this one is a rezone from mineral extraction and agricultural 2.5 to be all mineral extraction. Best explain with a map. So actually, this is incorrect. Portions of this property should already be zoned mineral extraction per a prior rezone. But I believe it might have happened even before the PDO. It didn't pick up the mineral extraction prior approval. But there are conditions clearly associated with this and the rezone of mineral extraction. So we are very clear that it should have been picked up in the CDO map. So really the only change is this transfer area here that would become mineral extraction. And then also along the edges, they wanted to kind of clean up and clarify that all of their property that they are going to be combining will be mineral extraction. So everything in purple is currently mineral extraction. This is an active quarry property. We do have in the CDL standards for quarry activity, whether they're in what's called an urban area within 8 homes of a quarter-mile square. We can regulate new quarry activity. There is, like I mentioned, a condition which we've carried over and can talk about the quarry activity not extending down the 50-foot access strip or flagpole. Also stating that access to Hedrick Road is restricted for all uses other than residential, agricultural, quarry traffic use the internal roads of American limestone property in the north. So that's something that was already put into ordinance fashion in 2011 that we're carrying forward. So as of right now, I believe that we're recommending a positive recommendation to clean up the map and add that area with all the conditions carrying forward.
Mr. Thomas?
What can they do on that little strip of land then? I guess that's, I know what they can't do, but what can they do?
Right. I think, I'm not sure if Drew put in here, but I will definitely have it by the regular meeting. I want to have what we do in terms of the urban area analysis of where that line is. I'm thinking
They're quarrying right to it right now.
they're pouring right to it right now. Okay, so they really wouldn't be able to extend unless they bought out or removed more homes. Is that the idea?
Well, that's why they're rezoning to mineral extraction. They could continue quarrying operations south.
Right, but if those 8 homes are in the, so she's not talking about the zone line, she's talking about how far the activity could be stretched currently. Well, so if it's not urban, well, so we'll.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
and, you know, clarity on what they can actually do on that flagpole lot would be kind of much. I assumed it would be for transportation, but then when you review the packet, it says no, but, you know, And of course, all the neighbors are notified when with this rezone request. Okay. I mean, it's nice that there's an active quarry. That's big news, right? That's excited about that. I think it's a good thing.
I guess my one question, and I think you covered it, is that was intentionally supposed to be zoned that, and this is kind of correcting that?
It's partial correction and partial new rezone request. So the area that we outlined here, it's about here. They did a type E where they transferred acreage, I think, from this lot to this lot, but they didn't change the map. So this is a new rezone acreage. And then also they wanted to kind of clean up the lines. I don't know if that was just from the parcel fabric or whatnot, but they just wanted to reaffirm their rezone. So though it's gonna say it's for a lot of acreage that they own, it's really for a very limited amount of new acreage to be zoned NP.
Other questions? Yeah, just one. So the parcels to the north, how close is this to Steinsville's boundary? Is your property between this and Steinsville's boundary? So the north.
Yes.
Do you have an address you could provide?
Yes. Yes. One of these parcel numbers, but also. Sorry, this is the entrance here.
Okay.
So,
And so, thank you.
I couldn't find it easily.
Okay, any other questions?
Maybe just a comment, it would be nice to maybe kind of have just a delineation of what is actually being proposed, just.
Of the zoning map, like
Yeah,
correct,
just a bit.
Yeah.
Like use some hatching. I expect to spend a lot of time. I think that'd be helpful for us, but also the public as well. So they can see it's a partial fix, but also a request to rezone. So,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we can move on to ZOA-25-3. It's the amendments in the CEO. Item number 1 for the CEO prioritization list.
So this is an amendment that we discussed in the. This is an amendment we discussed in the ordinance review committee. So what was discussed during the ordinance review committee was the CDO prioritization list that said we wanted to table the discussion of the review of the 25-year reservation of the parent parcel. There was a lot of people speaking at the CDO to the question of why is it 25 years? Could that be lessened or changed in some way? So after the ordinance review committee discussed the topic, it was determined that basically they thought that the 25 years was a reasonable requirement, or that somebody could opt to do another subdivision process. So that has not changed. What we did change were to add a little bit more regarding the purpose statement of the sliding scale. And so number 7 says, allow the flexibility to create smaller residential lots served by private sewage disposal system, i.e. septics, while also preserving a majority of the original tract for agricultural conservation purposes, going back to reasoning for why sliding scale was created as an option. And then also permit development in rural areas that will not overburden existing infrastructure, and then the red is new text, and services, and to not adversely impact existing low traffic roadways, police and fire coverage, emergency service response times, and any other governmental services. In addition, we talked about how sometimes there's some confusion about the different subdivision types. So we went by ordinance review committee's recommendation and added some pictures to the chapter right before sliding scale, which is the types of subdivisions. So we're hoping that this will provide a visual clarity as well as the table that's existing to say what these lots look like. We didn't add any labels, but we certainly can. It just says in the text, example of a minor subdivision, 4 lots or less, where each lot is 10 acres connected to private sewage disposal system, a septic system in this case. And then this is an example of a minor subdivision, 4 lots or less, meeting the minimum lot size requirements and connected to public sewage disposal system. So minors can occur in both areas where there's septic or sewer. And then this was an example of a sliding scale. These lots actually are all exactly 2.5, and then the remainder parent parcel. So we thought that was a good example where they're connected to septic system. And then we just highlighted an area in the county where we do have a major subdivision of 5 lots or more. That is the gist of this text.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Negrano.
Unfortunately, I had to leave the ordinance review meeting early, so I was not able to vote. I would have not voted for this. I think my biggest issue at this point is the minimum lot sizes, contingent to septic is 10 acres. If you had sewer, you could do smaller ones with other subdivisions. Also, when that parent parcel goes into the 25-year reservation, their only option moving forward is a major. So again, they can only do a major, which brings up cost of infrastructure, which there was a lot of discussion of the needs of infrastructure. But again, they can only do a major and they all have to be minimum 10 lots. Well, right, you can still do a major, 10 acres, sorry,
Around septic.
if they're on septic. So I feel like that kind of puts a lot of these, like, so for instance, if you did one that was like 20 acres, right, and you carved out 3 of your 2.5, I shouldn't be doing math on the fly, and the parent parcel goes into like 15 acres, you can't do a major there unless you have sewer. So again, my gripe is the minimum lot size and the fact that until we really understand how sewer is going to be provided, everything has to be 10 acres. So, and that reservation, they're committing to only being able to do any development within that parent parcel by going through the sliding scale. Their only option is a major subdivision. So I personally think that if we want to kind of keep that minimum lot size and make it contingent to sewer or septic, that's understandable. But I think the 25 years, due to the fact of the unknown of having sewer out there, is still a little too long and uncomfortable for my position. And I'm not going to repeat myself. I've made a lot of comments on this subject, but that's really kind of where I kind of find my position. And I think reducing it to 15 years could be very helpful, because it'd be 15 years before they could do something on that property, but they're still going to have 10 acres. So they could maybe do a minor. And I mean, I think the major is very important because it does bring that infrastructure, but I think a lot of the thought around that is having sewer. So you have a very dense area. I mean, 5 homes spread across 50 acres. Do we need sidewalks? Do we need all these other improvements? I understand if it was a major and they were all kind of squished together, that would be a bit different. So that's my feelings about this. I think the clarity in language is fine. I'm just not in support of leaving the 25 years until we grapple other issues, in my opinion.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. I am digging through it right now. Where's the text that clarifies the rationale that you mentioned? Which paragraph? I'm digging.
There's this section. That's currently in the CGL.
Okay, so what is the citation of legislatively find? Is there a code that we're citing for the conclusion of the 25-year restriction? But where does that language live? Where's the finding live that we're citing for that particular line?
Sure. So Dave, if you want to take this too, we worked on this together with the legal department.
So the county-
No, that's just the finding that the commissioners fund, that ordinance right there is the finding. The commissioners adopted an ordinance after discussion saying, we find that 25 years.
Okay, is there a separate ordinance or is it the county development ordinance?
This was previously a carryover from the prior subdivision code.
Okay, so again, what are we citing for that? So if it, yeah, and you see where I'm going with the specificity.
There is no state law there. The only thing about this was that the commissioners thought about this opportunity to do a sliding scale subdivision. And it was an opportunity that was beneficial to some people. And the trade-off is the commissioners felt it'd be reasonable for the benefit to say, you have to hold off for 25 years from developing. So that was the decision that was made legislatively as they considered this at the plan commission at the time and then at the county commission.
So what I'm really drilling into here is that if it's self-referencing, it sounds circular, right? If the ordinance says if the CDO says that we found, and therefore if there's a circular thing that happens here. Secondly, if this were to be litigated as a takings, I gotta point to something to tell me, well, on what ground are we standing? So if there's a separate, I just need to see what we're citing, right? Where was it voted on? Where's the document for the ordinances or the resolution to back up those words? Because then when we get into as a matter of policy, well, that's not ordinance. That's, I think, what you were just describing. That's kind of opinion, the preference of the commission that decided that, right? This piece needs a little more to it in my view, to stand up to some scrutiny. That's just my view. But if we can point to it and say, look, David, chapter and verse, here it is. I think I can get farther with that.
I guess as far as takings is concerned, there's no possibility of that because this is the choice that these people have. They can do a regular subdivision or they can use this other option. So there's no chance of a
We're
taking.
discussing something that I wouldn't be able. Like, I mean, that's fine. I just,
Yeah, I mean, it is an option and I feel like I'm repeating myself. The idea was to offer other options besides a minor or major subdivision and this was an option that didn't require all of the, especially for major, all the infrastructure and the roads and everything else that goes with it and or sewer and all of those other things. It was a way because we were responding to large lot owners who said, I want to cut off a piece of land for kin, for sale, to finance my retirement, whatever it might be. And I don't want to go through this whole rigmarole of a minor subdivision, maybe. And they all talked about it in a way like, I just want to carve off a small piece. I just want to. So it was an additional option. They don't have to pick this option. They can go with what they have, a minor or a major. I think this is, so I don't see taking in that. And I also, if you're looking for the basis for everything we do in planning, that's pretty deep political, legal, structural stuff.
Yeah.
And Dave knows it. Dave knows what counties are able to do and not do and what we can and can't do in terms of planning jurisdictions. So, the other option is just drop it entirely, just not even offer this. And that's an option.
yeah.
So,
maybe I was wrong. Sorry.
so.
And nothing you said, it conflicts with the question of the line that deals with 25 years. I mean, because we set it to 15, 10, 5, you can still go through sliding scale process on how you subdivide the land. The number, the 25-year number is what jumps out. And as I understand it, not well versed in this yet, I think there are other counties that have a 5-year. Shelby County is one. That's like 4 counties away. If it's not in code, then I'm trying to point to something to say, look, but what 25 years is the number we keep saying here. It has nothing to do with what you do in that 25 years. You can still do all of what we just said. But that number, you've tried to justify a few times. Now we have language trying to justify it again, and it's saying legislatively fine in a matter of legislative policy. I need to point to that and say, okay, fine, like we voted on it, right? Here's the ordinance. It's all otherwise revisited, right? It's about, I'm not concerned about the percentages at this point, so the year is what I'm talking about.
So you want to know the 2015 ordinance? in
Yeah,
reference
we need to point to
2015
it.
Ordinance?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we point others to it, say that's where it happened. I know that maybe that might be, I hear what you're saying, if we're setting a precedent to say everything must be cited in the CDO this way. This one's pretty big because we know this was a hard one. I'm done with this tonight, but it's just got my attention. How I phrased it here.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We move on to COA-35-6. This is item 13 of the COA.
So this amendment is a combination of staff edits that we've continued to find, which is on the prioritization list. And then also something that's not on the prioritization list, which is a response to House Bill 1037, which was the stormwater ordinance changes that were required as part of the state code changes. So we are trying to correct, for instance, at the, in chapter 811, we are taking back the requirement for taking logging permits in the urban area. Before, stormwater was able to take logging permits for both urban and rural properties. But now they've been, basically by that House Bill 1037, they're not allowed to be any more stringent than the state. And the state does not require a logging permit to log properties. So we are taking that responsibility back on. It was already in the CDO, but we are kind of listed as the secondary ILP requirement. We're going to be changing that to make sure it's clear that it's just planting now. And then there's similar changes to artificial lake or pond. In the event that somebody wants to create a lake or pond that's less than an acre or not in a platted subdivision, we are still able to keep some oversight because we are going to have some setback standards for that lake or pond in the event of failure. We're hopeful that we can have some setback standards that prevent and have oversight on areas that could flood out people downstream, basically. We're also, just for staff changes, changing the word design standard to development standard. That was something that we should have prioritized in the first CDO, but missed it. So we're trying to align that with state code language. And then we realized that our fueling station parking minimums were very, very high. I think it was like 20 parking spaces per 1,000 gross floor area. And we're changing that to align better with, I think the city of Bloomington has this 5 parking spaces per 1,000 gross floor area, but we also have it been to have plus per pump. So we have it as still a little bit higher than what the city requires. And then we had this change come into play with the CDO. We added the lake limit overlay, which mimics a bit of the environmental constraints overlay requirements. And so we realized by adding in the lake lemon overlay, we have a lot more agricultural activity in the lake lemon watershed. And we were pointing people to the Natural Resource Conservation Service because that's the way the ordinance has been adopted and administered before for eco areas if they're going to start new agricultural activity. NRCS told us that they cannot help people that are not enrolling in a federal program. So Soil and Water has offered to step up to create the plan for conservation plan for new agricultural activity. They saw it as a great window of opportunity. And I think we started with maybe our first one just recently. So they're already helping us in that regard. And then just some clarifying language, preliminary plat to primary plat. And then there was some clarifying language under the administrative subdivision type. We wanted to clarify it was to create 1 lot total. And then under our category of uses, under our site plan chapter, we're getting rid of the reference that says that on the site plan, you have to list what the intensity of use is. As you know, under our CDO, we got rid of that intensity column and we worked really hard to create scales of uses, individual uses. So retail sales small, retail sales medium, retail sales large, things like that. So we've updated this part. So we're talking through maybe one or two other possible changes, but at this point, this is the list.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Any questions on this one?
It's a tough question because it's kind of more of a gut feel question. Being the SWCD, I guess it's better than not having any resource, but do you think that their team of two is? You have worked preliminary with them on some of this, and I guess would you like to kind of express kind of how that has worked out?
Sure. So we met with them in person and one of the discussions that we had was, would you be able to take on this amount of extra workload? But then once we kind of figured out that this would be mostly for the Lake Lemon area, there's not a lot of new agricultural that's starting around Lake Monroe. We really narrowed it to say, we don't think that there'll be more than 5 requests a year.
Okay.
Based on previous experience and just looking at aerials.
I'm delighted to support it because any support is better than none, but I just was kind of curious because once we bake it into the ordinance, then
Right.
it's a process.
Right.
And knowing kind of their structure over there, I just wanted to kind of get a sense of how planning felt. So thank you.
I just have a modest question. It might be painfully obvious, but when was the last time we had a lake or a dam failure? Is that?
Over a pond?
Yeah. Our pond.
A close call on Hatch Road once. Yep, since I think we've had a failing one. Luckily, people will call and say it's actively failing. And then stormwater can sometimes help. If there's drainage easement, it's totally private, then they just mitigate. I've had two known, it's.
In Twin Lakes, there was one south of the ball fields, across the street from the ball fields. It's dangerous. It's a problem and we don't know how to fix it.
And there was one at Fieldstone that we took care of. A stormwater fees to take care of.
The state,
Yeah, so that was my next question.
the state gets involved with some regulation of high hazard
Yeah.
dams, and it used to be that they had to hit 3 different standards to be classified as a hazardous dam. The state deregulated that. And I think now it's not like, so there's a lot less classified as high hazard, so they. I thought we
So
should.
depending on a lot of things here, it sounds like it could be you all or stormwater or state or the Army for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't forget it.
Yeah, which way we go. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And we have used it, this is new, you know, and this, before the CDO, we just had people apply for a grading permit, and then it was just a stormwater grading permit. Under the CDO, we tried to enumerate some more of the standards, so people submitted to us the information we needed, so we didn't feel like after they applied, we kept asking for more information. So we've tried to say, here's everything that we possibly could need from your engineer up front, so that people know, okay, if I'm gonna do this, this is what it takes. So especially the karst features, we do get people that want to have a pond in the karst area. So our drainage board has been particularly helpful in educating them. They can fail.
It's not hold water,
Right, they don't.
Right.
like Leonard Springs.
Oh,
Yep.
Additional questions on that one? Moving on to the last item, SGP 25-2.
Record for page on that. Okay, so this is the Bella Vista primary plat. We had that filed by the developer's representative. So it's Bella Vista 3 Inc., CEO Angela Parker and Larry Allen, I believe is also helping with this one. But they are basically asking for a reopening of the primary plat just to exclude the requirement for street trees and sidewalks. We talked about this quite a bit under the subdivision improvement agreement process, and basically concluded at the end of the subdivision improvement agreement that we would cash their letter of credit on October 27th or before 2025, because it seemed like they were not willing, they stated as such, they were not willing to increase that amount, which was $600,000+ that it would take to actually implement and install the sidewalks in the subdivision. So we have 20 days before the letter of credit is due. And the next plan commission meeting is on the 23rd. If this is approved for both the sidewalk waiver and the street tree waiver on the 23rd, we would not be required to do a secondary plat. So this does not get recorded because it's just showing the sidewalks and street trees. The process would be complete and the developer would get all of their funds back. So
And this is accepted into the right way.
this is already accepted into the inventory. The right of way is accepted into the inventory. We do have a consent letter and we have been contacted quite a bit by neighbors out here, especially during the subdivision improvement agreement process. And now I think that they're more aware of this process and are supportive. So we do have a petition letter, which we accepted as sort of their consent letter for this change. We'll be adding before the next meeting too, that this primary plat originally was approved with conditions. I'm gonna carry those forward just to not, and if there's things that are obsolete or not needed anymore, we can strike those, but some things I think are still relevant to today that carry forward.
Any questions on this one?
On that. And this was a doozy. I felt like if they didn't come forward and we cashed that bond or a surety, whatever, I feel like this was gonna be like a underlining issue for the next generation of folks. And I actually went down and spoke with Director Nestor Jalen and told her that I felt like I voted wrong because I felt like this was kind of not putting a close to this issue. It's going to be really hard for me to get to the sidewalk waiver. But again, it feels like a lot of people just kind of kept going with the flow. And, you know, it really seems to me that the developers went on the hook for that. So I'm really happy the developer kind of decided to move this forward. I just, yeah, it was a doozy and I really want to see this like a closed case and not where like maybe future generations come back and re-litigate this. And we are just kind of leaving it for them to deal with. So I'm very happy to see this. Sidewalk waiver is still a tough one because, you know, you think about people out there and stuff, it's a hard one. And you know, that a lot of that resonated when Commissioner Thomas mentioned that if anything ever happens out here, it's like, oh, why didn't we put in sidewalks? But from all the testimony from the property owners and such, you know, how they don't desire that, you know, I feel like I lean towards that. And again, I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts of where I'm at and the fact that I'm just really grateful that this might be put to rest and, you know, people in the future don't have to potentially deal with it. So, thank you.
I will add just as a note, we did restructure the report from the SIA, so it's not a total repeat. There was a discussion with our department and the highway engineer regarding that there is a greenway corridor planned or proposed and the transportation alternatives plan through this area. And there was a discussion of whether we could ask these individual property owners for some sort of easement. But since this is a developer request, I don't know legally if we can withhold the sidewalk waiver and in return require a easement from private property owners because they no longer own the property. I also added in, it's floodplain as well. I also added in some history from the phases 1 and 2, as well as this, or sections 1 and 2. So the section 2 has an easement for sidewalks if and when they do go in at any point, but there was no actual sidewalk requirement. And section 1 did not have the sidewalk requirement. The standards at that time did not require sidewalks. So that was something that the neighbors brought up of, well, this would be the only section, the rest of a sidewalk. So that provides some additional context.
That's one comment question. First of all, on my share of committees in this county, it's wonderful to have these minutes that go back this far sometimes and to really have the verbatim to look at. You know, do a great job with this. It's not consistent with other things, but this is great. I guess I have more of a comment. So I know there was some frustration here with this particular one. Is there a risk of, I think I heard what you're saying, they're trying to maybe precedent setting or something that creates, if this isn't a closed case, people may look at this as an opportunity to follow a similar path of basically waiting out the clock with development. I mean, are we concerned that there are other cases like this out there that we may see, and how do we prevent getting into this predicament again? I guess that's really my question.
There are a few subdivisions that we plan on tackling next year that were accepted into the inventory similar to this, that have money associated as a cashier's check. So not a letter of credit that we've been trying to keep up with. So this year we really started to tackle the letters of credit because those were things we were going to the bank for, actively talking to the developer, and we've knocked off a lot on that list. There are other subdivisions that historically were accepted without all the improvements made, and that we might see similar requests here. But moving forward from 2016 at least on, we have not accepted roads that did not have full completion of improvements. So I don't think it sets a precedent forward by any means, but there might be past ones that
Pre-2016.
I think that would be about the timeline.
Thank you.
Because otherwise we would say either put in the sidewalk tax not accepted,
Right.
or the waiver comes.
I was just gonna really applaud planning to taking on this. How many years now? 3 almost, that you've kind of started to take over the management of this, and two. Well, some of these are big, so it feels like 3. And I just want to commend you and say thank you, because I really think this is going to prevent exactly what Mr. Henry was just saying from occurring in the future from new subdivisions. So it's been a huge learning curve for me, if you can't tell.
Did the neighborhood keep down this agreement that they did not want sidewalks?
We have a petition in the exhibit list, and I believe when I checked, it's everyone that would have a sidewalk, which is only on one side of the road. And I think at last count, they might have been missing 2 neighbors for street trees, but I can double check that. It's sent letters as exhibit 5. So it is a pretty exhaustive list. We went through it, and a lot of times it's like people own 2 lots, or them and their spouse or someone that they live with signed, so then it's cipher out. But yes, we do think that based on the conversations that we've had with the neighbors, there's pretty much unanimous agreement that they do not want this. The petition starts with saying the petitioners are current homeowners of Bella Vista Phase 3. We, the undersigned, are in opposition of remaining improvements as outlined in subdivision improvement agreement 2228, sidewalks, and addition of more street trees.
It does carry some weight in my mind that it's near. Mr. Ferris.
You're not unanimous.
Yeah.
Is that what you
I-
said?
Pretty much unanimous. We might be missing 2.
I don't like it.
We will get, I think I'll follow up with one of the neighbors that has been spearheading it
Can we just try and sort out?
at the last few.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
No.
Mr. Gibbs.
So, the thing that strikes me about this is flawed, is that this community that doesn't want this have created Halloween hell. They have gone out there and they turned this neighborhood into the mecca of bring your kids out here, trick or treat.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've gone out with my grandkids, and it's like one of these things, there's hundreds of these kids
Yeah.
wearing dark suits on the road. And there's people driving through there like it's their neighborhood. And to me, it's one of those things that
They don't want sidewalks, but they want to create this environment where they're putting kids at risk, in my view. So that's me, the hypocrisy of it.
At least once a year.
It only takes once a year.
I know, I hear you.
I haven't been out, do they have streetlights?
Don't.
The drainage ditches, I think I remember drainage ditches. So to incorporate the sidewalks with drainages written out there. I don't know if you have site.
I just don't know how you put
Yeah.
sidewalks in there.
I don't think I can put sidewalks. Kids.
I can send you the link of it and ask where they,
That's your.
But that's why it's a
Drainage.
Halloween attraction.
ditch and they covered it. It's like a 24-inch pipe with impervious, like asphalt.
How much does that cost? Would it be $50,000? And
Yeah,
if we could do it for $50,000?
it's held up for 10 years. Well, 10 years ago, session.
Any other questions or comments? Anything else that's covered in there?
So. I don't have anything.
Okay. Legal reports, Mr. Schilling?
No. If you would like a report on the mediation, I can provide you with that. We did gather to mediate a few issues and we allotted 4 hours for the mediation. And after about 6 hours, everything that we'd agreed to, the House rejected pretty much. So we came out of there agreeing to pay them the money that we had agreed to pay them in October of 2020 and had in fact written checks for, which they never canceled. But we'd also agreed to their urban area map. And before the mediation, we sent them a letter saying, you've never sent us your version of the urban area map. Send it to us. We may agree to it, who knows? And we won't even have to raise this litigation or the mediation. They didn't do that, but at the mediation, they presented us with a map that we talked about. We said, fine, we'll agree with it. So the mediator said, boy, I'm going to send around a mediation agreement for you people to meet and sign publicly that had 2 points to it. One, that we would agree to pay him money, and two, that we would agree to the urban area. But those were processes that we'd already agreed to. So it's just like, it's not worth having a public meeting to deal with this and say, hey, we still agreed to this. We did
We haven't changed our
5
mind.
years ago.
Yeah.
You know, almost to the day. So that's what happened. Every time we'd try to compromise with them, the next thing you know, they would say, forget it. And so that's where we are. They've sent us a discovery request that is completely onerous, that asks for every communication relating to the case for the last 5 or 6 years. And we have a settlement agreement which limits the issues out there at this point. And so we're going to try to address that and get that whittled down to just the, there's 2 issues. One of them is whether they need to get an agricultural permit, a permit for agricultural uses. And the other is whether they've complied with all our erosion control standards. And so we said, and over the course of the years, our MS4 coordinator had been out there and inspected and had talked to the House representative as to whether they've complied. And there were a number of instances where improvements needed to be made to bring it into compliance with the county's ordinance. Those were communicated, and then they've had a couple site visits, and the House representative claims that our MS4 coordinator said everything was okay. Our MS4 coordinator says, no, I didn't say that at all. And we have photographs showing back in 2022, when she first went out there, she said, these are some problems that you need to do. Well, Jackie and crew were out there last year or maybe was it the fall of last year that you were out there?
Out there.
Oh, this
Yeah.
month ago. And you can see that those improvements have not been constructed. So we said, look, rather than argue about whether things have been nailed down in the past, let's just send people out there. We'll do another inspection. And if you comply, we'll immediately publish a statement in the paper saying the huffs are in compliance and are not harming the lake at this time. And they wouldn't agree to that. They wouldn't let us out there. And then, of course, we have a BZA meeting on the 1st of October where the House attorney says to the BZA on multiple occasions, you're free to go out there at any time and inspect the property. So it's a head scratcher. But that's where it stands, which is where it usually stands, sort of up in the air and leaving us baffled about why things aren't progressing.
Hours and hours of time.
And thousands of dollars.
Yeah, yeah. More of the thing. I don't know, I don't think I've ever been at a mediation that's gone well in terms of actually coming up with a solution. Maybe it's me.
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna take it personally, but maybe it's me.
mediations are really not, in my mind, not incredibly useful in ordinance violation
Yeah.
situations. Because
Yeah.
either you're violating it or you're not.
Yeah.
If you're talking about
Right.
money damages or things like that, where there's a lot of give and take, sure.
Gray area.
Yeah,
I got you.
so there we are.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Schilling. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moves.
Thank you.